the Dream 100 Show. The epicenter of influence, collaboration, and exponential growth. You're about to discover the power of relationships. Dream 100 relationships. And you're one relationship away from a totally different business and life. This is your host, Michael Tesner.
So how do you improve retention? Almost every episode that I'm throwing at you, we're talking about how to get more customers, how to up-level those customers, increase the deal size, generate more referrals, generate more positive buzz. Like we're talking about not even attraction, but just generation. But one of the things that I've been seeing a lot more with the entrepreneurs that I'm working with every single day is this issue around retention. Now, before you tune out, if you feel like retention doesn't apply to you, retention to me is also brick and mortar businesses that somebody comes into your mechanic shop, they come into your restaurant, auto dealer, and then they never return ever again. So, well, Michael, how often are they buying a vehicle? Well, if you know your data, you might know that on average, people are trading things in or trading in a lease every X amount of years. And if you start to track that data, you can start to figure out, do you have a retention issue? So I always like to look at where is that hole that we want to plug. But one of the biggest challenges with plugging a hole, I'll use the analogy that you've got this big bucket and you're trying to figure out like, well, there's water leaking, like there's water on the ground, but you're looking up at the bucket and you're like trying to figure out, well, where the heck is it coming from? Like there's not a little hole in the bottom of the bucket. You don't see water pouring out on the sides. Maybe there's a crack, like you can't figure out or diagnose exactly what to seal or fix. Before we start to figure out some of the strategies that can improve your retention, keep your customers coming back, keep your customers longer, we have to diagnose, is there an issue? And if yes, what is the actual issue? And I want to focus there for just a minute. A lot of companies will send out net promoter score surveys. If somebody leaves and doesn't come back, like you think about the restaurants, the managers go around and ask, well, how was your meal? Is there anything we could have done better? Usually that's not what they ask. Usually they pass by. How's everything going? Oh, great. Okay. Then they walk on by. The problem with that is that if you realize in looking at your data that you have an issue, if you realize that people are not returning to our restaurant, people are coming into our dry cleaners on average once a year when it used to be once a month or every other month, and you start to see that data. Or if you're in the service business, you're a bookkeeper, and all of a sudden you're starting to lose more customers than you're gaining, and people are going out the door. You're a marketing agency like mine. Well, geez, the customer leaves. Geez, we might have a retention issue. One of the challenges is that people don't like confrontation. So they'll take an easier path out when it comes to giving their thoughts as to why. So depending on the person, it's usually much easier. I can give you example after example of a restaurant. The manager comes by where I probably would have said something like, hey, this steak was really, really overcooked or undercooked or whatever. They brought out the food and then they brought the salads after, whatever it is. There often is something that goes awry, and I would normally say something, but then my wife will look at me and be like, no, I don't want them to spit in our food, or I just don't want to deal with it. So unfortunately, people are inherently non-confrontational. But to a business owner, not getting that honest, candid feedback doesn't help you figure out the situation. Again, if the data is showing you that you've got some leakage somewhere, and usually that leakage is, again, with retention, people that are leaving, people that are not returning, regardless of the type of business you have. You should, again, be able to track how long are people staying with you on average if you're a service-based business. With bookkeepers or CPAs, the average is like 6 or 7 years. If you're telling me that your average is 1 year, and I can tell you there's a local CPA And at Business with His Son, I can guarantee you that their retention the last 12 months was absolutely disastrous. Absolutely. There's no way that they're getting anywhere close to that 5 to 6 year average. Now, if they were to send out a survey, and I'll actually use that as a perfect example here, I would have given some very honest, candid feedback. But then maybe other people were like, oh, I don't really want to say anything. I don't want them to mess up my taxes again, or like they wouldn't want to give that feedback. But if you know your data, you can come back to me and say, yeah, Michael, we got an issue here. I know that on average, we're keeping people for 2 years, but I've been looking at it the last couple of months, like it's been dropping, and now the average is like 1.4 years. So you want to track all that. That's step one. Step two is when somebody leaves, and or if you don't know if they're going to return. So we'll come back to that in just a second. Trying to give you both sides to this equation. Rather than me just speaking to service businesses, I'm trying to give you the retail side as well. So let's come back to that in just a minute. So on the service side, if you are an accountant, you're a marketing agency, financial advisor, if people are giving you their notice, I need you to do 3 completely different things. Number one, I do want a survey sent out to these people, but I want the survey to be the exact same for everyone. And I want you to offer a gift card, $5, $10, $20, maybe even more, depending on how valuable your product or service is, for honest, candid feedback. So the survey would say something like this. Dear customer, first off, we're so grateful for the time that we shared with you. We take any departure very seriously. So first off, I'd like to send you a $20 gift card to XYZ coffee shop. Not Starbucks, you want it to be local to them. Even though there's a Starbucks in every corner, I want local stuff. I'm gonna send you would that be okay then if I send you a quick survey? Will take you less than 5 minutes. We're looking for any and all honest, open, candid feedback. You won't hurt our feelings on anything. That'll just allow us to get better. And then you're gonna ask some open-ended questions. Tell me a little bit more. Why did you decide to leave? Like you're gonna put those questions together, and I don't want them to be leading questions. I don't want you to give them a drop-down list of select why you left. I wanna know, I want it open-ended. Why did you decide to leave? And give them a big paragraph and let them fill that stuff out. Number two, I want your team to try calling these people. So you have this exit survey, exit interview, so to speak. I'd love your team to do it if they possibly can. And thirdly, you want to make sure that this isn't awkward where they're getting a 1, 2, 3 days in a row. I love to have an outside firm actually calling those same people. And so I just talked to somebody at the company. So no, I completely understand. We're actually authorized to give you a $50 gift card. And again, we treat anyone that leaves extremely seriously. We hate to see people leaving. So I just had a couple more quick questions. And what I'm doing there is I'm literally asking almost identical questions, but I'm not saying, oh, I see you fill out the survey and you said you left because of price. Tell me a little bit more about why you decided to leave. Was there something on your mind? Was there some event? And then the interesting thing there, and why I like an outside company to do it, is that often it's a people thing. Oh, I didn't like the salesperson that we were working with. I didn't like our account manager. The owners, you're gonna find out things that they didn't want to tell your staff. When it's an outsider, it kind of releases that awkwardness. And again, I still like to give a reward. I'm giving a reward at every single step of the way. Fill out the digital survey, they're getting a reward. Talk to me over the phone with someone at our staff, they're getting a reward. Talk to an outside firm, they're getting the biggest reward. And so, Michael, that's a little bit overboard for people that left. I need the data. If I don't have the data, if I don't have the legitimate reasons as to why, the honest truth, how can we fix the situation? If you think that everyone's just leaving because of your price, but in reality, it's an account manager, but everyone felt bad because the account manager, I don't know, let's say they stuttered, and I'm not joking when I say that, maybe they just were hard to communicate, but you're going to feel bad saying that to someone. But that might be the big reason that they ended up telling this third-party company. Well, the person, I couldn't really understand them, but I felt awkward telling them. You need that data. You need that information. Now, on the retail side, so how are you doing that with retention if you don't really know if they're a new customer, if they're not coming back? I'm going to survey all the people that haven't came back, that I was seeing on a regular basis. And then B, I'm going to modify some questionnaire stuff more on the net promoter score. So after going to a restaurant, the dry cleaners, etc., I want the survey going out, and it's not a why did you decide to leave? It's tell us how we actually did, give us some feedback, what could we do to make your experience better? And then with that one, I also would have somebody from our team calling. That one I typically don't do an outside agency, but that's your proactiveness to see, is there something that was going to pop up that you can nip in the butt and actually fix for them? That's where you start to move that needle from retention. So what are two quick hits that you can deploy across the boards to start to see some improvements regardless of whatever those core issues are? The first thing you can do is over communicate. This goes for any business. More emails, more text messages, more communication. It's especially important when it comes to professional services. People want more communication. Being on the side of an agency owner, most of our clients would be happy to hear from us every single day. Is that scalable? Not necessarily. But if we're sending one email a week, let's go to 2 or 3 emails a week with more regular updates. People don't like living in that land of uncertainty. If you're frequenting a business or going to a business, they want to hear from you. They want a thank you message. Starting to look at doing some of those things that you've never done before. What if your restaurant Facebook page is sending out thank you messages to people that ended up coming to the restaurant over the weekend? So grateful. We value every single person that dines at our restaurant. Have you ever received that from a restaurant? A personal message that's not automated. I've never received one. Never. And I've spent plenty of money at restaurants and I just haven't. So it's going above and beyond from a communication standpoint. The other idea that I'm going to throw at you and let you marinate on it is something that is widely different. However, it is something that I believe is going to become a huge differentiator over the next 12 to 24 months. I've seen and read all the data that shows that people are inherently lonely. Like, the data is ridiculously negative. I just read another survey 20 minutes before doing this episode. And that it had nothing to do with the content I was doing for today, just literally happened to read another article. And it basically is showing, well, as screen time has increased, as Netflix time has increased, the level of personal interaction, the level of time that people are spending with friends, out to eat as couples, everything is nosediving. And what that's doing is it's causing higher levels of anxiety, depression, loneliness, etc. And so, well, Michael, what are you getting at here with helping with retention at my business? If you can foster a way to build the human-to-human connection offline, in person, at events, at masterminds, at yearly gatherings, yearly retreats, I don't care what business you have. Community events. If you're a dry cleaner, do a fun community event once a year. Bring your dirtiest clothes and we'll wash them, and you've got food. Like, do fun stuff where you're fostering that community. Even one event a year that families and adults and even kids start to get together and build that human connection can put you in a different league above everyone else. One of the things I say from a content perspective is people will come for the content initially, they'll stay for the community. How can your business manufacture some kind of human-to-human interaction to help with this feeling of loneliness and depression? And you do that by coming up with, again, live events, mastermind groups, coaching, getting people together in real life. So step one, look at the retention data that you have to figure out how you're tracking this. Do you have a potential issue? Step two, then look at deploying the survey, your team calling, a third party calling to get honest, open feedback so you can figure out what is potentially the issue. Have that proactive level if you're a different business that may not get that feedback, I guess, after the fact, but continue to over communicate. Continue to ask for that feedback, and then to help reverse the retention issues, again, A, communication, more communication, better communication, just simply more frequent. And B, the one I want you to marinate on is how can you help reverse that trend of human loneliness? What can you do? What small part can you play to start to build and foster a community? Michael Tasner signing off. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. I'll see you next week.